Thanks for taking the time to download the Inside the Jungle Football Daily Podcast. To send along your feedback about this show, send your emails to insidethejungle@spnt.tv.
Hey, what's happening, Bengals fans? Welcome to the Wednesday night roundtable here at Inside the Jungle. Tonight, we'll discuss the big 30-0 shutout of the Cleveland Browns. We'll also take a look back at the 5-year anniversary of the death of Chris Henry. And a big game Monday night against the Denver Broncos. It's prime time. Can the Bengals pull it off? That's all coming up next here on the Wednesday night roundtable.
This is the Wednesday night roundtable with Nick Superlig, Mickey Metzer, Anthony Cosenza, and Scott Bantel.
Hooday, everybody! It's the Wednesday night roundtable. Coming off a big 30-0 shutout of the Cleveland Browns, I should say. The Cincinnati Bengals riding high, putting Johnny Football to rest. Glad we don't have to talk about him anymore, but we will mention his name quite a bit here on this podcast. Let's bring in my three amigos. We'll start with the bushy beard man himself, Mickey Metzer. Mickey, what's up, man?
Not much, Nick. I'm you say we're not going to talk about Manziel much. I have a feeling we will, but not in the way that maybe some people up north envisioned we would. It was a pretty pitiful showing.
Up north in the division, or out east, in Bristol, Connecticut, where ESPN seems to love that guy. That's for sure. I'm glad you're back. I'm looking forward to hearing your takes tonight on the program. AC out on the left coast with his Beats headphones. I like him. What's up, man?
I'm styling, man. I'm styling. Not much. Just trying to get all the Christmas shopping done and, gearing up to have a little break from my day job. And, got an early Christmas present with that Bengals shutout of the Browns. So, just living the dream out here, buddy.
It was a great Christmas present that you got. The Bengals defense played very well on Sunday. I think they were aided by the quarterback, but of course we will get into that, I'm sure, as we welcome in Mr. Scott Bantel. What's happening, Scott?
What's happening, Nick? Glad to be talking Bengals after they put the whooping on old Johnny Football.
Yes, it was good to put him in his place, and we will talk about that. I guess we can go dive right into that right now. Let's start with our best and worst. Mickey, lead us off.
I'm going to start with my worst, and I didn't prepare, Nick. So my worst is going to be the coverage of the game. The Bengals dominated that game. They, what parts of their defense that we haven't seen this season woke up, yet every highlight is about Johnny Manziel still, even though he did nothing. So that's my worst. Like, come on. That was a dominating performance to a team with a winning record at the time. So, they should harp on that a little bit. My best is going to be, I'm going to say the front four, but in actuality it's like the front eight. But the Bengals created an incredible amount of pressure without blitzing and containing Manziel. And, we hoped that they would get the contain. I don't think anyone envisioned us getting the pressure and just destroying Cleveland's line like we did. So that's definitely my best.
Good choices. How about you, AC?
I guess one, I'll start with the worst as well. One is not really on-field performance stuff, but it's something that happened after the game, and that was the little scuffle and whatever with Jermaine Gresham and Dave Lapham. I guess there was some issues there, and it was happening in the locker room right after a very nice win. And, it's just a bummer that had to happen. And you're just kind of seeing things develop with Gresham that is showing that in this last year of his contract, it's looking less and less likely that he's going to be here because he just appears to be unhappy. Whether it's, whoever's fault it is. I know there's probably some people that side with Gresham, some people that side with Lapham or whatever. I just thought that was kind of an inappropriate time for that whole thing to spill over. This will probably make me unpopular, but another worst of the day would in terms of performance is Andy Dalton. He just didn't play very well. Luckily, the team didn't need him to. Kind of stayed within him what they were kind of doing offensively, which is give the ball to Hill. He did make some sharp throws at some critical points One being that fourth down on that first drive. He hit A.J. Green on a nice slant to keep that drive going, but wasn't hitting the deep ball well, and just 117 yards on the day. I don't know. I just hope he picks up his play going forward. Best, I'm going to say what the locker room scene was in terms of game balls with Mike Nugent and Hugh Jackson. I don't know if anyone saw the videos there. Quite a bit of emotion. Both those guys lost their father this past week, and I thought that was a really neat yet sad moment at the same time after a very big emotional charged win.
Good choices as well, AC. I like where you're headed there. Scott Bantel, your best and worst?
Yeah, that was a good one, AC. The that post-game speech was pretty cool. If you haven't watched that, go out on Bengals.com. It's pretty neat. Best, I'm gonna go. Obviously Hill's the easy answer, but I'm gonna go offensive line. They were opening up some holes for the running backs, and it wasn't just Hill that was having success on Sunday. It was nice to see Hill getting his. Bernard chipped in 70 plus. And even Rex Burkhead getting in there and getting a touchdown. So I think the three guys combined for like a 5.4 yards per average. So they were getting after it. So good to see the line moving guys like that. Worst, I was going to go Gresham, but AC got that one. I'm going to go. I'll go Dalton. Not from a Dalton bashing standpoint, but just from a standpoint of, if Dalton has a decent game, they win that 45 or 50 to nothing. I mean, he missed some really wide open throws that against Cleveland is no big deal, but when they're playing teams like Denver, Pittsburgh, whoever they play in the playoffs, assuming they get there, he's got to hit at least some of those. He can't miss those throws. When they're there, he's got to hit those. So, just Dalton and the inconsistent factor that we kind of harp on a lot with him.
I'm glad you brought up the offensive line, Scott, and I want to get your guys' take before we move forward, too, and before I give you my best to worst. When you see the way that they ran the football against the Browns in Cleveland, guys, and the way they had success early on in that game in Cincinnati 6 weeks ago, Mickey, I mean, don't you just kind of sit there and scratch your head thinking, well, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that the Bengals came out to run the ball. I would argue, as good as the line was in their run blocking, their pass blocking was still suspect. And just to kind of piggyback what Scott said, Dalton can't do whatever against Cleveland. You can't have that the lack of pass blocking from the line against better teams too, because at some point you are going to have to rely on some passing game. So I don't know. You take the good running, but you still. I mean, there's I'm sure I didn't listen to every post game, but I'm sure Marvin said we left plays out there. Or, there's still things we need to correct because it's true. But yeah, I mean, I agree, Nick. We came out to run the ball and we did. So I mean, that was very encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. It's the passing thing. Just as a side note, the passing thing is, there's a lot of keys there. We know. I mean, there's offensive line play that could be at fault. Dalton missing throws and really not going through his reads. But you also saw a lot of Bengals wide receivers, including A.J. Green, being pretty blanketed on one-on-one coverage throughout the game. So there wasn't too many open throws. I just think that one egregious play was the Hewitt play where he was kind of streaking down the seam. He was pretty open, would have been a touchdown, and he underthrew it. That kind of bothered me there. But yeah, Nick and Mickey, you're both right. They came out to run the ball. They did it very effectively. We've been harping on the Hill train for a long time. There's in his limited carries, he was getting 5-6 yards per carry in a game, and he did it again. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that that's the game plan they should be implementing. Gio Bernard ended up having a good game himself, probably because that defense of Cleveland was pretty wore down after trying to bring down the big guy all day. So I really liked what I saw there. I liked the rotation at right tackle. You saw Newhouse get some time. You saw Eric Winston get some time. It was just a good day and pretty fun to watch Hill run all over that Cleveland defense.
Yeah, and one thing with Dalton, I didn't break it down as far as what type of time he had on some of those throws. There was just a couple that I would like to see him have hit. One was he had Green on a deep ball, if he leads him on the inside and he threw it to the outside. And that was one that he could have had. Mickey's shaking his hand, but I'd like to hear what he had to say because he missed that one big time. The Sanu one, he had Sanu in the end zone too. Who knows? Maybe Sanu broke that the wrong way. I don't know that for sure. The Hewitt one, though, definitely. I mean, he hits Hewitt, and Hewitt's still running today. That was just a bad throw. He had him. He had the right look, the right read, made the right throw, just didn't get enough air on it. Those are the things that he needs to tie up.
I'll give you the Hewitt one was underthrown, and that's just a bad ball, right? The Sanu one, I looked at that a few times. I would also classify that as a bad throw because it was just a little out of reach. The Green one, and what's interesting about that one is the announcers called it out too, that if they would have let him on the inside. But if you look back at that play, when Dalton lets go of that ball, there's a safety on the inside. So A.J. Green's read should have been to go to the outside. I would argue Dalton made the right read. Now that safety runs up to cover the shorter guy, but when Dalton lets go of that ball, there's a safety on the inside. So Green cutting inside, I would argue, was the wrong read. So it looked way worse than it should have been, because Dalton throws outside, Green cuts inside, you miss by 15 yards. But I would argue that A.J. made the wrong read on that exact play. And I think the reason so many people remember that one is because the announcers called it out too, but we all know how much announcers know. You know what I mean? So that's the only one. I was kind of hoping someone would bring that one up. I thought it would be John from Kentucky, but I definitely reviewed that play a few times, and I would put that one on A.J.
Yeah, and those are the kind of things with Dalton that we don't know. When we don't know what the play design is, and you don't know who read it wrong. Was it Dalton? Was it Green? Those are the kind of things that Dalton's always going to get the blame for it, no matter what. We know how it works. So, maybe you could be right. Maybe he should have thrown it to the outside. It was just one I thought they could have had. Either way, the two of them weren't on the same page, so you'd like to see them clean it up combined.
Well, my best and worst involve Jeremy Hill and both, actually. My worst, and I'm going to start with my worst, is that Cleveland Browns fan who wouldn't let him jump into the dog pound. Come on, man. That was the most exciting thing you guys did all day. Other than that, my good for Jeremy Hill was the fact that he was a beast yet again, which leads me to my next question, guys. Do the Bengals have on their hands the next LaShawn McCoy, the next Jamal Charles, the next Adrian Peterson? How good can Jeremy Hill be, AC?
He's not any one of those guys, and I
could
think
he?
Yeah, he could be effective in that respect. Yeah, but build-wise, he's not one of those guys. Adrian Peterson, even though Jeremy Hill's a big guy, he still doesn't really necessarily put his head down every single time and run through a guy's chest and steamrolls guys. He does that sometimes. He uses the stiff arm, but he also dances a little bit, and I think that's what makes him pretty unique for his size. He's got very quick feet, good vision, and he can dance around and find a hole behind the line and kind of run away from some guys. So I think he's a true power back, but he's also got some shiftiness to him that he can utilize. I think he can be pretty effective as one of those top names you mentioned. But I do think they're still going to try and get Gio Bernard his touches, even though he's the quote-unquote backup. So that may cut into it. And truthfully, if you use the system right, as they did against Cleveland, that's the way it should be. Let Hill get 20 to 25 carries, maybe 2-3 catches. Let Gio Bernard get about 10 to 12 carries and another 5 to 10 catches. I mean, that's kind of the formula you want there, and you saw it work to perfection on Sunday.
I mean, I agree with AC. He's not. Adrian Peterson is just a different type of back altogether. But what I like about Jeremy Hill is that he's got the frame to be able to take a beating. He's a good AFC North back, as we've labeled some in the past, and run. He's not going to run away from people. There's a couple runs where, had he been a little quicker, he probably takes it all the way. But, I mean, I forget his 20-yard run or whatever for a touchdown where he stiff arms and throws a Cleveland linebacker down. Like, that's what you're going to get from him. I'll tell you two things that concern me about Jeremy Hill. One is his fumbles. He just needs, we're getting really lucky with these fumbles either being recovered by us or going out of bounds, but it seems like he's putting the ball on the ground a lot. And I'll tell you, number two is this dancing in the end zone. And everyone loves that when you're winning, and everyone loves that when you're the hot player. but everyone loved it when Chad Johnson was doing it. But as soon as the Bengals took a turn for the worse, they started saying, "Oh, he's not serious enough. He's too interested in dancing." And I could see that happening, to Jeremy. I mean, I love it. I don't care if they celebrate, but I just see it, becoming the focus. And like I said, everyone loves it when you're winning, but as soon as your team takes the losses, then they're like, "Well, you shouldn't have been dancing. You should focus on the game." I think it's dumb, but I think that I envision Bengals fans harping on that when that time comes.
No doubt, I could see it with the dancing. I agree with you. When you're winning, it's great. When if they're not winning, it's going to get old pretty quick. But I agree with the fumbling. It's funny how we have to compare everyone, but it is fun. So if I was going to compare him, I'd say someone like a Sean Alexander, who's a big back. He's got good feet. He can also catch the ball, though. He's kind of that complete back. Maybe even a little bit more like a Le'Veon Bell. I think him and Bell are very similar and are great backs for the AFC North. So either way, I'm pretty glad the Bengals went that route. I watched Carlos Hyde this weekend, and I know at the time of the draft, Bengals fans wanted Hyde. After watching him, I think Hyde's a good back, but I'm sure glad the Bengals took Hill.
Yeah, he's proven to be a pretty good back. I know the fumbling is an issue. I think the last fumble he lost, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, was against Cleveland in Cincinnati 6 weeks ago, which turned out at the time to be a pretty big fumble.
It's the only one, yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things you can correct with more and more coaching, but at the same time, it's habits too. I mean, he's probably developed a lot of bad habits throughout his high school, college, and now here his first year in the pros. But also, pretty cool to say or to talk about the fact that this guy just won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and he's the first Bengals rookie to win AFC Offensive Player of the Week since Corey Dillon in 1997, which coincidentally was also in Week 15 that year as well. And so I think there are big things, and I'm really pumped, and I'm glad that the Bengals and Hugh Jackson decided to go to that one-back system and let Hill be the feature back, because he had earned it. There's no question about that. He had definitely earned it. What I really liked about this weekend, though, guys, was the fact that Bernard seemed to kind of get things going, almost like maybe the demotion or whatever you want to call it. Wouldn't want to say it lit a fire under his butt, but he averaged over 5 yards a carry. He nearly had 100 yards himself, AC, and if that's the case, well, I'll take that.
Yeah, one could consider it his second best game of the season. The Carolina Panthers one was probably his best, but that was mostly because of that one, I think it was 89-yard, 90-yard run he had in that game, and that was the bulk of his stats that day. So consistently speaking, I think this was one of his best games of the season. And I mentioned it earlier, but you see the rationale with using that big guy early, pounding, wearing down a defense, and then you bring this shorter, quicker guy with a little more shiftiness to him, and how when a defense is tired, they have immense trouble trying to tackle a guy like that after trying to get the big guy down all day. And I think that's what the Bengals should have and actually wanted to employ throughout the entire year, but they just didn't really know how to do it. They weren't really sure about Hill, I think. This team and this coaching staff has a bit of an issue trusting rookies early on, and I think that they maybe had a little bit of that with Hill. Maybe they sensed some immaturity in their eyes, whatever, I don't know. But now I think they're saying, hey, the stats don't lie. He's getting 5 to 6 yards per carry per game. We got to give him the ball, and we'll get the little guy his touches too. I still would like to see Gio be a tiny bit more of a receiver, get a little heavier role in that area. But yeah, both were used very well, and Gio did a lot of his damage in that fourth quarter when the Browns defense was gassed.
Well, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. We all know that Hill had a pretty good game, and again won AFC Offensive Player of the Week award, so congrats to him. But the defensive side of the ball, they came to play, Mickey. I know they've been banged up at linebacker, but the secondary, they did a fantastic job against this Browns receiver core. And let's be honest, Johnny Manziel had the look of the deer in headlights, like the oh my God, what have I gotten myself into look. and it showed. And what I really liked about the game plan from that, and Marvin Lewis kind of talked about it, was we knew he'd be a one-read kind of guy where if his first read wasn't there, I'm going to take off and run. And even when he did take off and run, the front four did a great job of staying in their lanes and not letting him get outside the pocket where he has made his magic in the past.
Okay, here goes, right? Johnny Manziel had a terrible night, but to pin this, he's kind of getting the Dalton treatment right now. To pin this all on him is pretty ridiculous. If you look at some of our sacks, our front four just ran by their linemen. He was a deer in the headlights because he had no help from his line. It's almost like he pissed his line off, and they weren't going to do anything for him. It was insane how we just whiffed. And I did a film review piece on the defensive line, and for some reason, on multiple sack plays, the defensive line double-teamed Pecco. So whatever you saw in film that would call for a double team on Pecco and not one of the other Bengals linemen baffles me. Then the other thing here's another thing, as I was impressed with Johnny Manziel. I thought he would run more, but there was times where it looked like he was going to run, and he still was looking downfield, looking to make that pass, which I don't think he's going to amount to much in this league, but he's getting lumped with way more of the blame than he should. They had no running game. Our secondary looked great because they only had to cover for, half a second? It was a bad day for Cleveland in general, and of course Johnny Manziel's going to take the blame because he's the name. I would argue his second pick to Adam Jones, terrible throw, and he even admitted you can't make that throw on any level. He lobs it up there. The first one that Drake Kirkpatrick picked, if he throws that a second earlier, that's a pretty good play. But he waited, and it's probably a pass he would have completed in college, but Drake Kirkpatrick read it the whole way, picked that off. Huge play by him. But, I'm not saying that I think Johnny Manziel is going to make anything in this league. I told everyone when he was drafted that he's people were excited, like, oh, Cleveland's going to be good. No, I think he's too little. I think he makes too many, stupid decisions. But I thought he played better than I thought. He didn't run the ball that much. He tried to look downfield. I think Cleveland totally screwed up, dumbed down their offense too much for the guy, didn't block for him. It was just a bad situation all around. But on the flip side, I also think the Bengals defense played it perfectly. If you remember on the show last week, I said I don't think we should blitz at all. I think we need to contain, make him throw the ball, and it's pretty much what they did. We only blitzed twice that whole game according to ESPN stats, which is pretty awesome to get that kind of pressure with no blitz. So I cut the guy some slack, but like I told everyone last week, around the water cooler, he's just the next quarterback in the long list of failed Cleveland quarterbacks.
Yeah, what I liked about the game, Scott, and Mickey mentioned the blitzing, it seemed like there were a lot of times when the Bengals were ready and prepared to blitz, especially off the edge from the corners and the safeties, and their offensive line would false start, and the blitz actually never ended up happening. But that game reminded me an awful lot of that game a couple years ago when the Bengals played against Robert Griffin III and the Washington Redskins, who, by the way, coincidentally, was the coordinator at the time was Kyle Shanahan, who coordinated the Browns' effort on Sunday.
Yeah, it was nice to see. That's probably about the healthiest that Bengals defense has been, since the start of the year. And for the first time, they started to look like the defense that we saw in 2013 that ended up as a top 5 defense. They took it to the Browns. Like Mickey said, they didn't give Manziel much time in the pocket, hence why he looked so bad. The linebackers look good. Maluga looked good. One guy I think we should talk about that, takes a lot of beating from fans is Drake Kirkpatrick. He had another good game, had a nice play. The guy hasn't played much this year, but when he's gotten in, he's looked good. He's had a great season as a gunner, and when he's played as a corner, he's looked good as well, and he looked good again on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I agree with most of what Mickey said, but those two interceptions that Manziel threw, I thought were poor plays. He really threw the ball way too late to Hawkins. That was kind of dragging across the field there. He was open for a couple of steps there. I thought that he throws that earlier. He sees that earlier. That could be a good completion. Inexcusable throwing to them back to the middle of the field with that other one that was in the end zone. I just can't do that. That's a rookie mistake. There was also another play, if you remember, early on where he kind of rolled out and he floated one again to Hawkins, and it got knocked out by Reggie Nelson. That was another throw that kind of made you worry about his arm strength a little bit. You know, he rolls out, he puts a little more on that, and that's another big completion for a first down. Instead, he just kind of fluttered it to him, and it gave Nelson enough time to shoot over there and knock that ball loose. I do respect the fact that he did try and stay back there and pass. There were so many times that his offensive line let him down where Bengals were just almost getting in there untouched, which is both a testament to the Bengals defense and the poor play by the Cleveland offensive line. I'll say this. I think a lot of it has to do with poor play by Johnny Manziel and just him being a rookie, but I also think that the team didn't set him up to be successful. Mickey talked about the dumbing down of the offensive plan. I think that's a big key. I also think that the team put him in a position to start a game that was essentially their season was riding on it. And I think they probably should have given Hoyer one more week, let that play out as it should go or how it would go. Maybe they lose. Then you got 2 games to kind of play with towards the end of the season. The pressure's off Manziel a little bit. Maybe he plays a little better. Who knows? So I don't know. I think the Browns didn't really do Manziel too many favors, and I think that also kind of played into his poor performance that day.
Yeah, I was shocked, too, that the Browns made that move this week of all weeks, considering he had played really well 2 times against the Bengals. In fact, he has not lost to the Bengals in his career. And so to make the move now, the only thing that I can think of, and I'm just wondering, based on some of the reaction I saw after the game from Mike Pettin, head coach of the Browns, I just wonder how much upstairs was involved. It's the final home game of the year. The fans are clamoring. They're crying out for Johnny Manziel, and the chances, although not likely, were slim that they were going to make the postseason anyway, even if they had won against the Bengals. It's just a very curious move when you know you have a guy in Hoyer who has played really well against this team with your remote playoff chances still alive, Mickey, and that's why I'm so shocked, and I guess that's why they're the Browns.
Well, I don't know if you saw today, Nick. Bernie Kosar kind of called him out, like that's why you're the Browns. So we said it, and it's funny. Anthony and I kind of talked, in our behind-the-scenes chat during the week last week about, which one's going to be worse, the Bengals needing to step up when they matter, or the curse of Cleveland, you know what I mean? And I said, as bad as, the Bengals are at times like this, the curse of Cleveland is so much bigger, especially this late in the season. They just don't know how to win. And I told you guys that at the beginning of the season. No one listened to me. We had arguments. Didn't someone have to eat a boot? Like, wasn't there something around that?
Yeah, your memory's pretty good.
Cleveland's going to be best. They were so active. All they did was spend a bunch of money on a team that's probably, hopefully, in their case, is going to go at 500. You know what I mean? Cleveland is not there. They just shoot themselves in the foot. And just like you said, Nick, putting Manziel in this game shoots them in the foot. I think Hoyer was 2-0 against the Bengals. I don't know why you don't give him another shot. We've seen the Bengals this season alone redeem teams that seem to be struggling, and yet they put in a guy that, man, if you really thought about it, you knew he was going to fail. You knew it, especially in his first game. So, I don't know. It's Cleveland. Factory of sadness.
And to be fair, they have gotten better this year. They're 7-7. Nobody in their right mind thought that would happen. With a remote chance of them being above 500. I mean, that would be awesome if all 4 teams in this division could be above 500. That just speaks to the strength of the best division in football. That's for sure. Let's welcome in our good friend Fatal Content to the program here on the Skype line. Fatal, what's up, bud?
Whole freaking day, man.
What's on your mind tonight, Fatal?
Nah, man, I actually just wanted to touch on a few things. I think the Browns, like you guys are saying, the Browns they're a decent defense. They're a pretty good team. They're probably a good quarterback away from being legitimate. But I'll just say this, man. Folks say Dalton sucks because he throws one too many picks. Okay, that's fair. By that logic, as does Luck. Last time I checked, he gets a pass, and he's called the winner because he finds ways to get it done. He leads the league in yardage, yeah, but he throws a ton. He throws a ton of passes in a very weak division where he faces the Jags, the Texans, and the Titans 6 times a year. So, it's contradiction central that people give him a pass for finding a way to get it done and willing his team to the playoffs. Every year that he's been there, except his rookie season and even his rookie. I don't remember, but I think it's about time we start giving Dalton a little props on that aspect.
Fair enough. I see your point, Fatal. What do you think of the chances of this team Monday night against a tough Broncos defense who's playing really well?
Man, we get over the hump, man. Check this out, man. We're gonna beat those guys by at least 10 points. Book that.
Whoa!
Book it. I don't care about prime time. I don't care about any of that.
I
won't eat for a week if we don't beat those guys.
Oh wow! I need like a bold predictions drop to play here on the show. Just something like crazy bold like that. That's real bold, Fatal.
Yeah, because if you guys have been seeing Peyton Manning, man, I think he's barely completing most of his passes. He finally has a running game going, but you know what? If we can keep that running game from going off, and we can get some pressure on him the way our D-line did this week against a pretty good Browns O-line. It's not like they have sorry players on their O-line. Yeah, they're missing their center, which is where we killed them, but we should be able to control these guys in the trenches if we play like we did this week. If we get flustered like we do on primetime, then that's a whole other story. But I think these guys are carrying the anger over from this week to the primetime thing.
Fatal, I love your optimism, and I've heard a lot of people say the same thing where, Denver in these last 2 weeks are relying on their run game, and if we can stop that run game, and then that's where my brain kind of shuts off because we're kind of calling out the greatest quarterback of our generation to beat us in the passing game, right? So I would take Manning with the flu and one leg over Dalton, and this is a guy with, I think I'm up to 16 Dalton tattoos. I really don't want to put it. I really don't want to even say those words. Like if we make them one-dimensional, then we got them because that's the one dimension that I really think they're probably better than every team in the league. But I will share your optimism. The matchup is favorable for the Bengals at this point. The Broncos they just seem beat up. They lost 2 solid linebackers. Their corners are great, right? But we got A.J. Green that's going to, he's going to get open. If Dalton plays a good game and if Hill runs the ball and, we have the Hill-Bernard combo, the Bengals have a great chance. I think our biggest hurdle to get over is not that we're playing the Broncos, it's that we're playing on primetime. And I think if we can get past that, this is a great game. This is a playoff game. This is a game that two teams – the Bengals – there's 2 games left in the season. We have 4 losses. That's a good team. So I think it's a great matchup. I just don't want anyone to say, let's make Manning try to beat us with his arm.
Yeah, that's true. It's just he hasn't looked very good, and hopefully we're not the team that he wakes up against. But it's all about number 32 in the striped helmet. That's all we have to say. It's just he controls the pace of the game, and he controls where Peyton Manning is standing during the game, and that's on the sidelines, hoping for a chance that he wouldn't get. If we just hold him down and just run it on him 40-plus times a game, we'll win that game.
I like your thinking about Jeremy Hill. Give us your question of the night, Fatal.
Oh, man, you know what? This week I want to have a little fun with the question of the night, man, for the sake of a great moment. I just want all of you guys in unison to throw up the money signs for the Manziel 30 to zip sweep on those bastards. That's all I want. I just want all you guys.
Oh, keep doing those money signs. Oh yeah, look at that. Keep doing that. Oh baby, I love seeing it. Come on, Scotty, throw them up again. Yeah.
Money signs 30 to zip, man. Hey man, you guys want to hear a funny Cleveland Browns joke though, man?
Let's hear it.
Johnny Manziel, man. Johnny Manziel. That's all I gotta say, man.
I'll give you the golf clap for that. Hey, appreciate the call, Fatal.
I'm here all night, guys, man. Hey, good hearing from you guys again, man. And book it, man. My bold prediction: we beat these guys by 11 points this week.
All right. Who dey, Fatal?
Who dey?
Who dey? That's Fatal on the Skype line. Let's welcome in our good pal John from Kentucky to the program. John, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Nick? I tell you what, I don't mean to be overly positive. I think we're due for a primetime win, and I do think we beat Denver on Monday night. I know Manning, he's what, 8-0 against Cincinnati?
Yes, he is. Yes, he's 8-0. Never lost.
I think after Monday he's 8-1. Just run the ball, play some hardcore defense, throw a lot of blitzes, and I think we do win. And I'll just make a slight opinion. Well, no, I'll wait till next week. I was going to say what I think about, playing Pittsburgh. But right now, one game at a time. I do think we can beat the Broncos. We're due for a primetime win, and I'm not surprised at all if we win. Then again, to be honest, I wouldn't be in shock if we lost. I'm not saying I'd put any money on this. But at the same time, I just think we're just due for a primetime win. We had a good win in Cleveland, and I think we run the ball. I think we can beat Denver. Okay, I mean, Denver, they're not the 85 Bears, for crying out loud. That Frankenstein-looking stooge of a quarterback. How old is that guy, 40? I mean, come on now. Get after him, get on him on the blitz, and I think we can beat him.
I like your thinking, John. I really do. I know I like this new positive John from Kentucky as well. It's refreshing, and it must be the holiday season, right, John?
Yeah, exactly. It's the holiday season, and yeah, it's what is it? It's not the night before Christmas, is it? No, it's not Christmas Eve. It's but it's close. Okay, close enough. Yeah, we'll beat Denver on Monday night, and then will there be a post-game show Monday? That's a good question.
Oh, I knew that was going to come up at some point. Well, unfortunately, I have to work, so I won't even be able to watch the game live. I'll have to watch it when I come home on Tuesday morning. So no post-game, but we do have something in the works for this Friday afternoon because of that. So yeah, stay tuned.
This Friday afternoon. That's in 2 days.
That's right. I'm gonna do a Friday phone-in.
Friday phone-in.
Yeah, we're gonna take callers just like you to call in on Friday afternoon.
On Friday afternoon. Okay, what time's the show?
I think I'm gonna do it at 4:00 Eastern. I know. I just gotta hope and pray my kids get home in time so that I can put the TV on.
All right.
Dad of the year, folks. Dad of the year.
Definitely. Well, I'll pay attention to Twitter, my email, and whatnot, and I'll make sure it's a. I'm sure you'll announce what time you're going to do it. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay. We can beat. Look. Let's just beat Denver first things first, and we'll take care of that, and then I'll talk about the Pittsburgh game after that. All right?
All right, John. Appreciate the call. Who dey? That's John from Kentucky here on Inside the Jungle. Before we talk about the Denver Broncos and going into some more depth about them, I just want to go back and remember Chris Henry, a wide receiver who was lost way too soon. We all know he had some issues off the field. But at the same time, we all saw what a great talent Chris Henry was, and just wanted to get your take, Mickey, Scott, and AC, commemorating the 5-year anniversary of his passing. I think the thing that sticks out to me most, and I hate that this is the thing that I will always remember, is the catch in the playoffs that Carson got hurt on. It's a shame because he also got hurt on that play as well, but that just epitomized this franchise early on in the Marvin Lewis era. A lot of talented players that just could not seem to get over that hump. And that was a team that really, if you think about it, that was the first hump that they got over, was getting into the postseason. Your thoughts? I'll start with you, Mickey.
Shoot. So I'm going to agree with you that it stinks when you lose anyone that young. And he was a heck of a football player. But honestly, that's where it ends with me. With everything, just take this past year, Nick, right? All these people we've lost too soon, people that were lost, outside of their control. It sucks. It sucks that a kid, lost his life, but I don't know. Like that's where it ends with me, right? He made a lot of decisions that got him to the place he was. I would argue how he passed was his own doing. So that's, we tend to put these athletes on a pedestal when it's not necessary. So I'll just say it stinks that we lost a kid's life, but that's it. It means nothing more to me than the shame of what happened with that guy in Walmart in Ohio, which I think was up near you, but I don't know. So that's all I'm going to say.
The way I remember Chris Henry, and it's the ultimate compliment, but it's also an insult, unfortunately, is the only person that could stop Chris Henry, both as a football player and a person, was Chris Henry. And I think immaturity issues got him benched, and obviously the Bengals had some good receivers. They had Hushmanzada and Chad Johnson at the time that he was sitting behind, but that guy was absolutely uncoverable. He was about 6'4", ran like a gazelle, did some possession type of catches as well, just basically unstoppable. And the only guy that got in his way was himself. And it's very unfortunate that happened and unfolded the way it did. It is a real shame that his death happened in a year where you saw him kind of start to get his life together and him change as a person. I thought that was very unfortunate. My big memory, this guy is my brother's favorite all-time Bengals player. He actually has some body art attributed to Chris Henry, if you can believe that or not. But he'd be embarrassed if he knew I said that. But my memory of him, my most vivid memory is I went to that Bengals-Chargers game in 2009, the week after he died. And I remember the tribute that was given. That was the first game played after his death, and the tribute that was given there, the moment of silence, the classiness of the Chargers fans in that moment, that was pretty cool. It was very sad, but it was pretty cool, and that's one thing I remember the most about him.
Yeah, AC, I agree with you. The sad part about the Chris Henry story was the fact that, he started to seem like things were starting to click for him off the field. On the field, things always clicked. He was a great player, uncoverable. He was really exciting to watch. But, prior to that year, I had soured on Chris Henry. I wanted nothing to do with him. I wanted the Bengals to get rid of him. I hated that they kept bringing this guy back. I believe in second chances, but on third, fourth, fifth chances, that's where I start drawing my line. But they did bring him back, and he did seem like he was starting to change his life around, which was good to see. It's just a shame that, like Mickey said, that got him to where he was, and unfortunately, he just couldn't get out of his own way. So, sad to lose him. Wish he could have turned it around before that happened, but, like I said, he was a good player. He had some issues off the field.
Yeah, it sucks that he'll be remembered more for the stuff that he did wrong rather than the stuff that he did great on the field, and that's always the disappointing thing with Chris Henry to me. And it's weird to think that it's already been 5 years since his death. I didn't realize it had been that long, and it still seems like yesterday finding out that news. So. Just wanted to get everybody's take on Chris Henry and his thoughts here on Inside the Jungle. Let's go back to the Jungle line, though, before we talk about the Denver Broncos. Area code 703. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Richard Rolston.
Hey, Richard, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Are you feeling better?
Yes.
Awesome.
I actually was going to want to talk about the game coming up. I wanted to get you guys' take on what we saw against Cleveland, and do you think that the Bengals might, especially considering the misfortune that they've had in primetime games, maybe to kind of take it very old school, simple, and do a lot more running, with a lot of bringing 6 offensive linemen out there? It seems like it would be a way for us to keep the ball out of Manning's hands, because I really do not, like as was said earlier, I really do not want to like put the game in Manning's hands and see if, dare him to beat the Bengals, because I think he'll do it. And I don't know, I thought that the Bengals really learned a lesson from Pittsburgh and did it to perfection against Cleveland, and I'm wondering if you think they'll try to do the same thing against Denver.
Well, there's a big issue when it comes to taking the game plan against the Browns, who going into that game, in fact, going into both games against the Browns this year, the Browns were ranked, I believe, either 29th or worse in rush defense. Well, now the Bengals are going up against the second-ranked rush defense in the NFL. They give up 71 yards a game, Richard. So running the ball is going to be a little more difficult this week, but I think AC, what are your thoughts about bringing in the extra linemen, which we did see them do a lot of tackle eligible this week against the Browns?
Yeah, it's good because a lot of times it works, and it's just lining up a big guy against another big guy and shoving people out of the way. The issue with that is it becomes predictable, and you can tee off on the run a little bit. And this is where we go back to, and I don't want to go into the whole Dalton deal, but this is where you have to have some balance, and you have to have a quarterback that's going to make some throws when needed. So there's a little bit of a hesitation even on run plays. So I like the idea of running the ball. They're going to do that. I just think they are going to maybe sprinkle in a little bit more passing because they have to have some balance. Who knows too, if the Bengals do fall behind in this game, they may have to pass the ball a little bit more than we saw this last week too. I mean, they shot out to an early big lead and they really didn't look back. I don't know that that's going to be the case this year or this game.
Yeah, running the ball, it's gonna be tough sledding, Richard. But I like your thinking. I think the less they can put the ball in Dalton's hands in a primetime game, the better, and it also keeps Peyton Manning on the sidelines.
Also, one other question: do you think that they'll pick up any more linebackers? It just seems we're getting really thin again at linebacker. This year, that's the position that seems to be catching all the injuries. And I'll let you guys talk, and great show. Hope we get a win this next Sunday or Monday.
Hey, appreciate the call, Richard. Who day, buddy?
Who day?
Yeah, I think the Bengals they do have plans in the works, Mickey. I think they worked out a linebacker today, if I'm not mistaken. That's the correct word. He would play for the Cowboys, the Saints, and the name is escaping me. I want to say Butler.
Victor Butler, I think.
Victor Butler. Thank you, AC. So it's not like they're definitely concerned about the injuries at linebacker. Lemur missed most of that Browns game with a hamstring injury. We all saw Vinny Ray get knocked out. But they do have issues at depth at linebacker, that's for sure, right, Mick?
They do, and that gives me an opportunity to kind of heap some more praise on the play from Maluga. I think we're all pretty impressed with what we've seen from him. Josh Kirkendall, who he's the godfather of all this, knows every stat. Seems like he just lives and breathes that stuff. Said that Maluga's on pace to miss more tackles this year than he has in any year. I was reading, but he also agreed that the leadership and just the spark you're getting from Maluga is huge, and it seems to be making a difference. The run defense definitely improved when he got healthy. So it wouldn't surprise me that we're adding depth there because we are nicked up. But I think that's the Bengals are making the right decision to beef up there.
But the bigger issue too, Scott, with the injuries, that means you're making Ray Maluga play 3 downs instead of 2, and having Maluga in pass coverage isn't ideal. Although he did okay against Manziel and Browns, but we're talking about Peyton Manning.
Right, I think that's a matchup that Peyton Manning will probably be paying attention for. My guess is if Ray Maluga is matched up against any of his receivers or tight ends on...
Like Lewis Thomas?
Yeah, possibly. So, yeah, that's definitely scary. But I've been a big basher of Ray Lewis. Whoa, pump the brakes there, Scotty. Woo! Him too, Ray Maluga. But, He did make a big difference on this defense when he came back from a run standpoint, and he's definitely brought some stability. So, I'll give him his props for this year. He has played much beyond my expectations.
He has played. I would say he's played very well since his return from injury, and he has made an impact on this defense. Though we didn't see it last weekend against the Steelers, we did see it against the Browns, and hopefully we will see it this week against the Broncos. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, AC. The Broncos under Manning, the first 11 games were a completely different team than they have been the last 3 games. Now, to be fair, the last 3 games, AC, they've played against some really good defenses, and so they haven't been able to air it out as much. But the drop-off in passing, just from a statistical standpoint with Manning, it's unbelievable how much of a drop-off there's been in those 3 games. But they've used the running game as a way to kind of mask or kind of deflect away from the bad play, either at quarterback or the receivers or whatever. I know they've been injured too, but the running game is what really scares me with this Broncos offense, because if you get our over-aggressive defense charging up to stop the run, that's when Sanders, that's when Thomas, and even the tight end Thomas get behind you on defense.
Yeah, and I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Manning is still on pace to have a banner year in terms of statistics. I mean, I think he's probably in the 40 touchdown range for the year, at least on pace for, I think, 4,500 yards passing. I mean, he's still going to have a Peyton Manning-like year. It's just been the last couple of games where you've seen a shift. Now, I think that some of that shift is maybe the team gearing up for the postseason a little bit, and I think they saw what happened to them in the Super Bowl. They have similar talent, almost the same kind of roster, and I think that they've tried to make some adjustments to say, hey, you know what, it's not going to be just Peyton Manning and nothing else. And I think they've done a pretty good job of that. And maybe teams, instead of just focusing on that Super Bowl tape, what did the Seahawks do? What did the Seahawks do? Now you're seeing a little bit of a different look from them. Oh, boy, now we got to guard against a power running game? What are we going to do there? We have seen this Bengals defense. I do believe that the Broncos, at least at times, run a zone blocking scheme in their running game, and you've seen the Bengals defense struggle against those types of schemes before in the past, namely against the Houston Texans with Arian Foster in years past. But, C.J. Anderson, he's been playing well. He's not a household name yet at this point. You don't really know exactly what you're getting totally from the Broncos. I don't know that you're going to see a 400-yard, 4 or 5 touchdown passing type of game from Manning. It might be a little different looking than that.
Before we get to our bold predictions, let's welcome in Kurt from Asheville, North Carolina. Kurt, what's up, man? Oh, of course, and he hung up. Don't know why he did that. Okay, then. Gotta love the beauty of live broadcasts. Let's do some bold predictions, shall we?
Hey, ladies, quit your babbling, because now's the time in the show when all the boys pull out their cojones and make bold predictions!
All right, let's get bold. Scotty B, beam me up. Give me something bold.
All right, I will say Andy Dalton throws more touchdowns than Peyton Manning.
Dang, that is bold. Did you see Andy Dalton play on Sunday?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Mickey, I'm just kidding. Mickey, relax.
How many touchdowns did he need to throw on Sunday, Nick?
Oh, man. Give me something bold, Mickey.
Man, downers all around. I like Scott's a lot. Like, that'd be pretty solid. Mine's a simple bold prediction. The Bengals win in prime time.
That is very bold, although it is simple, but it is very bold.
Right? Can you get much bolder?
I hope you're right, though. They definitely could use a primetime win against a big AFC opponent, and as a measuring stick moving forward if they win this game, moving forward in the postseason as well. Good one, Mickey. I like that. AC, did he steal your thunder with his bold prediction?
Nope. I'm going weird and wacky. I will say that the Bengals block either a field goal or a punt and return it for a touchdown in this game.
That is very bold and very wacky. Why? What is your inclination on that sort of play? Is there something that sticks out in your head? Did you see something?
I've watched a lot of tape this week, Nick. I've watched a lot of tape. I've seen the weaknesses. No, just kidding. No, I'm just trying to be weird. That's all.
Okay. It's an interesting, bold prediction, that's for sure. Wow. You guys have 3 really good, bold predictions right now. I would, obviously, something incredibly bold would be to say, hey, the Bengals keep their shutout streak alive against the Broncos. That's not going to happen. That would be absolutely the ballsiest of all bold predictions right there. Scott has suggested inside our show chat room, as I air quote you all, show chat room, Ryan Hewitt has 2 touchdowns. I like that. And he's quickly becoming, and I tweeted this on Sunday, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite Bengals right now. But I will say this. I think the Bengals keep the streak of 200-yard rushing games going. They, as a team, will rush for over 200 yards against the second-ranked rush defense in the NFL. That's bold, right? I don't know why I have to
Crickets.
Ask for your approval or not. That's just my bold prediction. I'd love to see your bold predictions here in the chat room if you're watching us live. Emilio Martinez says Darquez Denard picks off Manning twice. That would be very bold. Let's see here. Dan Beck, my prediction, Bengals have less than 15 run plays. I hope that's not true. I really hope that's not true, Dan. Oh, that's too funny. Let me see here. I'm trying to pull up some of these other bold predictions. Josh Schuster, Andy outplays Manning by at least 2 touchdowns and 175 yards. Those are some of the bold predictions here in the chat room. Before we give our score predictions, let's welcome back Kurt from Asheville, North Carolina. Back to what? Did you hang up on me, Kurt?
No, I called and it was really crackly. Like, I don't know, I was calling from an old timey radio or something.
Hey man, this ain't no radio station. What are you expecting here, Kurt? Come on now.
I don't know. I called from my cell phone. It's no different than anything.
What's on your mind tonight?
First of all, I have to give my bold prediction now that I made my phone call right during the right time. Bengals win the turnover ratio by +3.
+3. So okay, that's a good one. That's a good bold prediction. I like that.
And so that they have to have at least 3 turnovers. So there's going to be at least one of each variety. So at least 1 pick and at least 1 fumble. But I don't know what that third one is going to be. But they're going to win the turnover battle by +3.
All right. I like that.
So, but yeah, I was just I missed the end of I missed most of the show. But I had a question that I wanted to run by you guys. I know it's right at the end of the show. I know we like to take everything one game at a time, but I'm just going to go ahead and ask the question anyways. We got 2 weeks left in the season. Which is the more important game, Broncos, Steelers?
Ooh. Hey, that's
you want to say Broncos because it's the first game, you know. I mean, obviously, if we win this Sunday, then we automatically in the playoffs, whether it's a wild card or whether we win the division. I mean, that's just mathematically it happens. We win, we're in the playoffs. But if you beat the Steelers next week, then it's more of a winning the division thing. So what's the more important game, beating Denver at home or beating Steelers away?
Ooh, that's a good question. We will answer that right now. Hey, Kurt, appreciate the call, bud.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Who day? That's Kurt from Asheville ringing up here on the podcast. AC, yes or no? Or give first or second game, which is more important?
Pittsburgh. Always. Pittsburgh, and that one may come down to the Bengals fighting for their playoff lives and or the AFC North crown. Pittsburgh.
All right, AC says Pittsburgh. Mickey, you agree?
I agree that Pittsburgh's the bigger game, but I'm going to say this right now. I think the Bengals are already in the playoffs. I think the 9 wins that we have are good enough. You know, a lot of the teams that could jump us play each other. So, you know, some of these teams need a lot of things to happen to hop over us, but the division, you know, no matter what happens this week, unless both the Steelers and the Ravens lose this week, then Monday really doesn't matter. It's got the Pittsburgh game is by far the biggest, and that's a win and you're in guaranteed. Even though I think we're already there, at least as a wild card.
Scott, you don't want to chime in? You don't have a thought? There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. It froze on me. I will say Pittsburgh as well for two reasons. One, division, but two, winning a big game going into the playoffs I think would be good on a roll. However, I will say that this team may be better as a wild card because they look much better on the road than they have at home of recent.
I'll tell you, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. It's this first game. Why? Because they need to show they can win in the postseason, and they need to show they can win a big game. This is a bigger game than the Pittsburgh game right now because it's a primetime game, and they haven't done it ever and forever. You're all wrong. It's Denver. It's the first one. Yeah, I'm going PTI on you. Appreciate the call, Kurt. Some of these other bold predictions before we get to our score predictions. John from Kentucky says Dre picks Manning 3 times. He's really done a 180 on Dre Kirkpatrick. He's like the president of the Dre Kirkpatrick fan club, folks. That's John from Kentucky right there. Joe Casaro, they hold the Broncos under 50 yards rushing and 150 passing. That would be good. TC from Dub V, his bold prediction, he says we win by 2 touchdowns. And let's see here. Any other bold predictions? I got nothing. Score predictions, though. Fatal Content says 31-20. Emilio Martinez, 23-17. Josh Schuster says it's a nail-biter, 28-27. Broncos? What? Josh Schuster, come on now. Those are some of the score predictions here in the chat room. So, AC, give me a score prediction for Monday Night Football.
Manning's 8-0 against the Bengals. It's looking like things could turn here. The last two matchups between the Broncos and the Bengals, even one with Manning as the quarterback, have been actually pretty close. Last one was in Cincy too, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm still going 35-23 Broncos. Sorry, 35-23 Broncos.
All right. So before the season, you were the only one of us to say the Bengals would win.
Oops. Well,
now you're switching. You're doing a John from Kentucky.
I'm a flip flopper. I don't know. I'm a flip flopper. I don't know, but they got to prove me wrong. I just these are the types of games I get real leery on picking them on. So they got to prove me wrong.
All right. So AC's saying they lose. How about you, Nick?
I think the Bengals take this one 27-24, and I think it's going to be back and forth the whole time. The Broncos are struggling at the perfect time for the Bengals.
I like it. He says 27-24 Bengals win. Finish us up, Scott.
I'm going to be the downer here. I had them losing this in my preseason. I'm going to stick with that. Like AC, they got to prove me wrong here. So I'm going to say they struggle on the prime time. They suck against Manning. So I got to give the Broncos the put 34-14.
Hey, wow.
Yeah.
Look.
Wait. Can we make an on-air bet? If the Bengals win, Scott has to grow his mustache back?
For a designated period of time, right? Like he's got to keep it to like the draft or something.
That's not even a punishment, though. That's not a punishment.
That's true. It's not a punishment.
That's more like
he gets so much street cred from that thing.
Reward for you guys.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe we might. I don't know. Well, we'll think of something.
I would gladly bring the mustache back if the Bengals win. I don't want to be right on this bet.
That's true. I agree with you. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I really do. I think the way that the Broncos are playing right now, they're not throwing it around like they had been. And I don't know if it's because Peyton Manning's injured. I don't know if it's because Peyton Manning's getting up there in age. They are running the football a lot more than they had been. And I think that's what the Bengals' forte has been the last few weeks. They've been running the ball really well also. So I think this is going to be the type of game where it's going to come down to who has the ball last. And I think it's going to be the Bengals. I think they win a low-scoring affair. I'm going to go 13-10 is your final. Nugent kicks a winner, the game winner at the buzzer. That's my score prediction. Just before we get out of here, I meant to mention this earlier too. Just the different playoff scenarios regarding the Bengals. The Bengals clinched the AFC North with a Steelers loss and a Ravens loss and a Bengals win on Monday Night Football. There is the potential that they could be in the postseason before they even play on Monday night. That would require the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Bills to lose on Sunday. If the Bills lose or tie, that would even give them a playoff spot. So there are some scenarios that could be in play this weekend. I would say if you look at who those three teams are playing, the Chiefs, Chargers, and Bills, they're probably not going to lose this weekend. But crazier things have happened. Again, well, you're looking at me funny, Mickey. What? You're muted.
You say the Chiefs, Chargers, and Bills won't lose?
If you look at the Bills play the Raiders, who aren't great.
Chiefs play the Steelers.
I didn't say. I'm saying all three.
Oh, okay. But like I said, but it's like I said in the chat room. Like there's so many teams that still play each other.
Right.
It's favorable for the Bengals right now.
Yeah, I think the fact that they're at 9 wins already, I think they're also in.
9 wins in that tie. That tie is huge.
The tie ended up being massive in favor for them as well. So yeah, I agree. Before we get out of here, let's do shout-outs real quickly, guys.
Shout-outs!
I'll start with you, Scotty B. What's up?
Shout out to a good friend of the program, avid listener, good follow on Twitter, at Mike Hudson Sucks. I don't think I've shouted him out before.
Yes, good one. He is a big fan of the show and a supporter of our Patreon campaign as well. Thank you. Mike Hudson Sucks. I agree. Good shout out, Scotty B. Mickey B. Wow. Mickey, give me a shout out for this week.
Nick, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I always pick names that I can't pronounce. I'm probably going to meet up with this guy at some point during the game, but I'm going to shout out Fadil.
Fadil. It's Fadil. I knew you were going to say that.
Fadil, was he yours too?
No. I just know he tweeted today, and yeah, that's a good shout out.
Bayari, I don't know his last name, but he's in town. He makes the podcast international, and so I'm gonna shout him out. And I hope to meet up with him for a drink before the game, along with Joe from the chat room.
That is a good shout out, and I agree. Fado, he tweeted this out today. He says, "Inside the Jungle has now been tuned in from Malta, Cyprus, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. I don't know how you want to say it. I'll say Qatar. Good shout out, and I hope you do meet up with Fado. That'll be really cool. AC, your shout outs this week.
I'm going Inside the Jungle Hall of Fame, Kurt Campbell, John from Kentucky, and Fatal Freaking Content. And I'm also going to shout out the couple of Los Angeles guys that called into the Sunday show. I believe it was Steven from Los Angeles and Rob from Los Angeles. Because got to give the SoCal. Rick. Okay, not Rob. Sorry, Rick. Yeah. I believe it was Steven and Rick. So those are my 5.
Did you head out to the 5 Line Bar? You should do that.
I did not.
5 Line Bar in Eagle Rock, California. Yeah, good one. Good shout outs, AC. I'm going to give a couple shout-outs to our newest patrons on our Patreon campaign, Michael Creedon and Tony Martin. Thank you very much for your support of the podcast on Patreon.com. For those of you who are supporters of the Patreon campaign, you've been checking out the daily podcast. I don't have a cool little clip this week to play, but you've been missing out on some good shows if you're not a patron over at Patreon.com. spnt.tv/Patreon for $1 gets you access to those daily shows. We've got one more week left of the daily show, so make sure you check it out again. spnt.tv/Patreon, and that all costs is $1. I think it's worth it. Final thoughts as we wrap up. AC.
Got to get off the schneid. The Manning schneid, the primetime schneid. You got to start winning these types of games, not only to breed confidence within your own team, but breed confidence in the fan base to give hope that you will make a postseason run once you get there. So it's one of those statement games. It is actually big in the playoff race, but it would just be a great thing if they won. I'm going to try and be optimistic.
I feel your optimism, AC. I hope you're right. Appreciate everything that you do for the show, and it was good catching up again this week.
Thanks, man. You too.
Mickey Menser, final thoughts. You're heading down to the game on Monday night, the final home game. Hopefully not the final home game of the year, but you're going to be there in primetime.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna Vine it. I'm gonna tweet it. I had a final thought. I'm throwing a curveball. John from Kentucky just predicted a 28-7 Bengals win. How can you top that? John freaking from Kentucky, Mr. Optimism. Who would have thought it? So that's my final thought.
I like it.
It's gonna be sweet.
I like it. I definitely like it. And again, thank you as always for being on the program tonight, Mickey. Final thoughts, Scotty B, Scott Bantel.
I think this is an important game for the player's psyche because, as we're starting to buy into this primetime jinx, their inability to win on primetime, I got to think it's creeping into the heads of the players because that's all they hear about before these games is how they can't win on the big stage. So I think this is a big game for player psyche, even if they don't win, but to play well and to compete against a top-notch team like Denver, I think we'll go a long way with this team.
There you have it. Hey, Scott, appreciate you joining us again tonight. Thank you for all you do for the show as well. Before we get out of here, just a reminder, you can always email us insidethejungle@spnt.tv and rate and review the show on iTunes as well. You guys, the reviews have been fantastic, and appreciate the support as always. If you want to check us out again and you like what we do here in this program and you want to contribute, spnt.tv/Patreon is the web address. So, with the holidays being the way they are next week, we have to do some rearranging of the show. So, Wednesday night's roundtable next week will be on Tuesday night. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here at cincyjungle.com. We will be discussing the Broncos game. We'll also be looking ahead to the season finale against the Steelers. Due to my work schedule, I'm not going to be able to do a post-game show on Monday night. However, on Friday afternoon this week, I will be doing a Friday phone-in. So for all of you who are watching tonight and anybody who tried to call in and couldn't get through, if you want to call in, we will do a Friday phone-in, 4 o'clock Eastern at cincyjungle.com, and we'll take your calls. We'll do bold predictions. We'll do whatever you want. That's why it'll be a fun little Friday and it'll be part of the daily podcast as well. So you won't want to miss that. I think that's going to do it. Episode 176 is in the can. Special thanks to our associate producers of this program, Andy Lanham, Larry Rolson, and Mike Vardy as well. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for tuning in live here at cincyjungle.com. Tell your friends. Go out there. Like AC says, go tell your friends about us here at Inside the Jungle. Inside the Jungle is an SPNT production. For more information about our other podcasts, log on to spnt.tv. And for all the latest and greatest about our Cincinnati Bengals, check us out over at cincyjungle.com. For AC, Mickey, and Scott, I'm Subs. We'll see y'all later. Hooday!
Hooday!
What's up, chat room?
That one was awesome. I feel like we could have talked for like 2 hours a night.
Seriously.
Tell me about it.
Nick, you got to get a new job.
Hey, if people start chipping in a little more on that Patreon campaign, if you know what I'm saying, maybe I can. No.
Well, if we build our listenership.
Yeah, we need to get advertising.
I agree. That would be awesome.
How do we get access to the daily stuff aside from you sending us links to it? How can we just go in there and? Well,
you gotta be a Patreon sponsor.
Yeah, you gotta be a Patreon. You gotta pay $1.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna make you do that. That's why I was sending you the links.
No, okay. I just was wondering if there's an alternative method, but.
Open your wallet, Anthony. Come on.
Sure.
I don't really have a good answer to that.
No, I got you. Okay.
Nick, did you decide what computer you're getting?
I'm leaning more towards the MacBook Pro.
Yes, sir.
Just for the simple fact that if we do have, if I can somehow get down there and do a live show, either at training camp or at like a bar down there, that would be the easiest thing to pack up and go with. So,
Mickey, are you sincere on your call of potentially coming out to one of the next year's games out this way?
100%, 1,000,000%.
Where are they headed?
Oh my God, they're going to San Francisco. They're going to Oakland. They're going to Arizona. They're going to Denver. Yeah, they're all the opponents were listed. There's like so many out here. I'm going to probably at least 2 games next year, maybe.
Can
4.
I tell you my only concern about the whole thing is I don't want to die in Oakland or San Francisco.
Go to Arizona.
I've been to Oakland. Did I ever tell you my Oakland story?
No.
I'd wear a Raider shirt if I went.
Oh my gosh, dude! Just real quick, this was 03. So this is when Marvin was just taking over. The Bengals were crappy. The Raiders just lost in the Super Bowl, so that fan base was rabid. We go out. It's a day game. Oh my gosh, dude! We leave our hotel wearing Bengals stuff. A guy in a lowrider drives by, curses at us. We thought we were gonna get shot. We got flipped off in the stadium. People were throwing stuff at us. It was unbelievable. That's the short, clean version of the story. It's unbelievable.
I'm gonna tell you that Anthony, I've met you. Scott, Nick, you've seen me. For whatever it is, I was born with broad shoulders, so I look big, right? People love talking shit to me, and so when I go to other stadiums, it's always like someone sizing me up, and I'm like, damn it, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, by far, I've been to Pittsburgh. Kansas City was awesome. Arizona, I went before they had their stadium, but that was awesome. Every away game I've been to has been cool, except for Cleveland. Like, I honestly almost died in Cleveland. And I feel like if I go to San Francisco or Oakland, the same thing's going to happen.
No,
I'm a target.
San Fran's mellow, dude. I've been to the games in San Fran.
Not
They're
San
mellow.
Fran anymore. It's San Jose, Santa Clara.
Yeah, it's mellow. But I went last time I went there was
you saw it. You say that, but I see some dude almost die in a freaking bathroom from getting sucker punched. Like, the worst clips you see are usually freaking San Francisco Giants or 49ers, Raiders.
Yeah,
Raiders. Person shot in the parking lot this year after the San Fran game for the opponent.
Right. Well, do you guys remember? I mean, I know you remember the game where we played the last game in the Meadowlands, like where the Jets. They had to beat us to play us the next week in Cincinnati for the playoffs. I went to that game. It was negative 2 million degrees, whatever. But one guy pulled me aside. He was like, hey, you guys seem cool. I'm just going to tell you this. If we lose this game, you're probably getting knifed. And I'm like, seriously? Like, this is at the tailgate before the game. I'm like, why? Like, this is really happening? Yeah, luckily for me, Bengals only had 11 yards of offense the whole game, so no one was knifing anyone.
That game I mentioned earlier, the Chris Henry San Diego game in 2009, as I left, some guy followed me through the parking lot and threatened to stab me. I'm like, dude, try it. Just try it. Some little guy.
Well, that was Houston. I went to Houston. Every single person I met was awesome. When we left the game, there was one idiot that followed us onto the I call it a subway, but it's above ground, public transportation. And I finally turned around. I was like, man, you won. Like, what are you upset about? Like, why do you want to beat me up so bad? And trust me, there's part of me that wants to just knock people silly, but I understand when I'm in Houston, when I'm in Cleveland. No, the Cleveland game I went to was the one that was like 51-45, right, where Cleveland beat us. I'm in traffic leaving the game, and some idiot mouth-breathing Cleveland fan is banging on my car window saying, roll down your window. And I'm looking at him like, all you're going to do is punch me in the face. Like, I know how this ends. Like, you won the game. Go away.
You guys are hilarious.
So, yeah, I cannot wait to come out there, AC, because I love going to away games, and all three of the – well, I've been to Arizona, but Oakland or San Francisco sounds wonderful. But I will be nervous.
You know what's pretty, though, is –
just go in a home team T-shirt.
Yeah.
No,
that's
bullshit.
Nope. Arizona in fall and winter is beautiful.
Let's do that. I have grandparents who live in Scottsdale. I got a place to stay.
It's horrid
I've been there.
in the summer, obviously. Yeah, it's horrid in the summer. But
I went.
Whatever. It's a dry heat.
In the fall and winter, it's like 70 and 80. It's beautiful.
I went when the Cardinals were terrible. I went when the Cardinals were terrible, and when they played at Arizona State Stadium or whatever, and Kitten was our quarterback, and we were so heavily favored, and we lost. But I remember going up to the concession stand, and the woman's like, "Oh, you from Cincinnati?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You'll probably beat us. We suck." And then we lost. But
Was that the game that we lost to Jeff Blake as the
Yes.
Cardinals quarterback?
03.
I went to that one. I
I was there.
No way. No way. I
Yeah.
was there. Yeah, Arizona State.
I go to one away game a year, and I would love to come to the West Coast again. But I mean, I'll be there next month. I'm
Yeah,
really
I-
excited about that.
I think
The only
Arizona-
away stadium. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say the only away stadium I've gone to, because I was worried about going to an away stadium. Mickey, I do not have broad shoulders. That's why God blessed me with fast feet. Was Nashville, and their fans were actually really friendly.
Awesome. Yeah, they're so nice.
That is a good stadium to go as a away fan. I would be pretty afraid of most other away stadiums, particularly Oakland and San Fran.
I lived. It's fine. Two white guys. My brother had like bleached hair at the time. Two white guys. One guy with bleached hair. We made it out as Bengal fans. Now it might be. I don't know if it's different now, but I think their fans were more intense then because they just came off a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they were actually good. Now they just suck. So I don't even know if people would care as much anymore. But I think if we could do Arizona, because I got family out there. I think Nick has family out there. It's probably a pretty relatively safe and mellow place to go. It's a Carson Palmer potential game. I don't know. I think that one that'd be a pretty good one.
That would be good. Nashville was mellow. Like, their tailgating is all done in, like, honky-tonk bars. Like, they don't have a big outside tailgate. So that was fun. Emilio wants to hear my specific story from Cleveland. I mean, it was ridiculous. I'm in the Mooney lot. Like, you can't walk through there without people throwing full beers at you, kicking you. Like, it just got ridiculous. And the cops that came and, like, broke up the fights that were happening with some of my friends always sided with the Cleveland fans. And we're like, man, we're just trying to walk to the stadium. Like, we're just trying to get there. It was terrible. The Jets, the cool thing about the Jets, and I still remember this, because remember, that's the one they flexed. They put it as a night game.
Yeah.
We walked to our seats, and we're in the bottom section, like the 15th row, and as we're walking up, literally the whole half of the stadium started chanting "asshole," which I thought was pretty awesome. And they made that game a dry game, like they wouldn't serve beer because they knew what would happen. But because it was so cold, everyone had these huge coats, like everyone was sneaking alcohol. So I sit down, I'm surrounded by Jets fans, and they're like, "I'm not talking to you." And the guy goes, "You're lucky the guy's like, "I'm pissed, I got to sit by a Bengals fan, it's a dry game." I had a 6-pack of Miller Lite and a full bottle of Jack Daniels on my person, like hidden. So I opened it up, and then all the Jets fans around me were my friends. So, I mean, it was fun. Cleveland, by far, I would not go back to. They were so freaking terrible.
I've heard that about Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm hesitant about Oakland. I mean, I really am, but I would go back. But that one was an experience, man.
Depending on the date, that might be the one we go to. And if I go, you're definitely going. Like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and my brother would go, and yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Probably like buy a NFL licensed Bengals flak jacket.
Seriously. For Oakland, yeah. You know what I would do? If we go to Oakland, you know what I would do? I would do it up like the Oakland fan with the shoulder pads and the spikes on it. But I would do it all Bengals. Like, just throw it in their face.
And
I'm definitely getting
orange Darth
yeah,
Vader.
I'm definitely getting beat up.
Beat up? Yeah, that would be the best thing that you'd probably get.
Yeah. It'd be a great story for the podcast.
God, that game that I went to was when Rich Gannon was the quarterback of the team. That tells you how long ago that was.
Oakland was
a
good
while
then,
ago.
right? Yeah, because was that the year they went to the Super Bowl?
Wasn't that
year after? They just
Chucky
lost it.
Gruden?
Yeah, it was Callahan. It was the year after they lost to Gruden when he was in Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah.
It was nuts, dude. People were tailgating. We got out there Friday night. People were tailgating Friday night in front of the stadium. They just tailgated all weekend.
Who do the Bengals play? what divisions do the Bengals have next year? I can't believe they don't have it on their site.
We have it on Cincy Jungle. They have the AFC North. I think they have a couple of teams in the AFC East. They have the NFC West. Shoot, where is it?
So they got. Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
It should be in the AFC. It should be the.
It's who we played in 2011. So NFC.
It's the South.
NFC
AFC,
West.
AFC South.
Yeah. So there's a couple teams from the AFC South, a couple teams from the AFC East. Then we have the NFC West. They randomly threw in. Oh, and we have. Looks like we have the AFC West too. Yeah, all of the AFC West, all of the NFC West, and a couple teams from the AFC South and the AFC East.
So we do have the AFC West next year.
Yeah, we host San Diego and Kansas City, and then we go to Denver and to Oakland.
My brother-in-law used to live in Denver. I know some people out there. I'd like to go to that game.
That'd be fun, man. Be colder than hell though.
It's really not that cold. Their winter temperatures are normally warmer than here.
Where at?
Denver.
Cold for me, dude.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty.
Denver, it's like cold in the mountains, but Denver itself is usually pretty nice in the winter, like 50-ish.
All right, so the Bengals have Oakland at home.
I'm looking at the thing we posted today. It says away Denver Broncos, Oakland Raiders, Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco. Where are you
I
looking?
pulled up AFC-North.com, but it shows away games at San Diego.
See, this one, it says FBschedules.com. This is what Josh wrote today.
Oh, I'm seeing a totally different one.
God, if we were in San Diego again, oh man, I'd be so stoked.
I know it's out.
They normally have it, because I mean it's just a rotation every year. I mean you play, you rotate the divisions and you play the AFC opponent that finished in the same spot as you.
Right.
Right. I see the FB schedules one.
It should be maybe we played Tennessee in 11 because we finished in the same spot. Because we played them Dalton's rookie year. That was 11. That's when I went down there.
Yeah, but we played them this year, too.
Yeah, you're right. You mean you don't play the same division 2 years in a row?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't.
Yeah.
When does the league officially release it? I thought it was like in the spring or something they do it.
Yeah, I thought it was already out though. Like the opponents.
I don't know. We got to go. We got to go to one.
Yes.
Timmy, how many views are you getting on those Who Wins the AFC North poll deals?
The first few I was getting a ton. I haven't looked again today. I mean, for, like the polls were getting 5,000 votes for a while.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Mickey, what did you think about the idea of teaming up with like Cincy shirts and having some extra shirts?
Love that idea.
I mean,
I just don't know.
jungle T-shirt is like
because
like
we're
an
owned by a
even
bigger company.
yeah.
Right. I don't know how that works. I'd have to run it by Josh, but
I know I had thrown it past him earlier in the year because I had designed a sweet Hugh Delight T-shirt for Hugh Jackson, and I'll shoot it over to you guys. It's pretty sweet, as well as the Cincy Jungle one. Because I asked him if we have is there a Cincy Jungle T-shirt, and he said he sent me a link to it, but I don't even know where you link out to it. I think we could sell some T-shirts.
Yeah, I made before you came on, Scott. I made trucker hats with the old with the old Who Day Weekly logo. Yeah. If we can get a if we can get a show logo without Nick's face on it, I'd like to make it again.
I had said something about redesigning the logo. I just haven't had any time.
I think he had some sort of like initial draft of it, but I don't know what happened.
Remember when someone had posted that it looked like he lived in his parents' basement, and
that was jacked up, dude. That was pretty jacked up.
That was hilarious.
I think I lit that guy up. I don't remember though.
But you must admit it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna send you both of these designs. I think these are the right ones.
Oh.
What are you guys doing for the holidays?
Staying home.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing. How about you?
Couple weeks into January, I'm going to L.A.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm staying at home as well.
I just remember last year, AC, we spent one day at Malibu, and it was 81 degrees.
It was a joke.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, that was a joke last year, weather-wise.
Oh, it was so nice.
Yeah, I was wearing shorts.
And we had 6 inches here.
Oh, I can't promise it'll be that warm again, but
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I need to start putting a heater down here in my basement, man. It's freaking freezing down here. All right,
so
I'm sending you guys both of these. Email.
Is your basement a man cave, Scott?
Yeah, kind of. It's where I have all my sports memorabilia. Like I have a signed AJ, like framed picture down here, signed Chad, Rudy. I got like a Barry Larkin signed picture, and then my brother and I finished it like 2 years ago, and it's like a 100-year-old house, so it's like low ceilings. So I left all the ductwork exposed and painted it black, and like encased the beams in wood. So it's pretty cool looking. And then I got the barn doors, the sliding barn doors back there.
Oh, sick.
So we made those. It turned out pretty awesome.
Sick.
So, but yeah, it's freezing down here. Like we have holes in the vents, but it doesn't work that well. So.
All right, fellas, I'm gonna roll.
All right, buddy.
All right, boys, enjoy the game.
All right, you too. Got to get a dub.
Talk to you later. I have my predictions wrong.
Have fun, Mick, at the game.
See you, man.
See ya.